Um, Unfortunately, I have to drop after half an hour.
Okay.
30 minutes. So I know there's been some discussion on this on 460 and 419, I think, as an impact.
Okay.
If we could just discuss those first, that I would appreciate that, if that works.
Okay, 460 and 419?
Correct.
Is that what you said? Okay.
Correct.
So we'll do that. I think first I do want to talk about 468, since that had been our blocker, and I think that's now resolved. And then we can jump into those other two. If the discussion starts going too long on 460, we may have to pull a separate meeting for it so we can start sprint planning.
Okay,
but I
perfect.
do see that there's some discussion on the board. Thank you. Okay. All right, everyone. So we have the recording going. We'll go ahead and start the meeting today. So there have been a number of issues that have been resolved and closed, so that's good news. We have the short-term fix in place, and then I wanted to go over to, hopefully on this screen, 468 was the short-term, we talked about the short-term fix for, let me scroll up to the top so you can read this here, related to the branching. And so we had a separate ticket also open for that. So I think this was the branching issue was the last blocker we had for 1.1. Is that correct? Or is there anything new that's come in that would cause problems? Are we in good shape?
Yes, I think we are. We're in good shape for that. We've seen, you know, there's the Jenkins can build, and it looks like if we put, we can pull the repos from the branches if we need to work on them. So I consider this one. I don't see any more blockers or impediments going forward. Now. We should, as far as a long-term fix, it probably is a good idea, you know, after thinking about it for a few minutes here, to put tracking in there to figure out, tracking Jira to figure out what really the approach we want to take going forward as far as how do adapters get combined with VOLTHA if they're staying in this, you know, in one repo, or if they're out. I think, Tim, we were having a discussion earlier about, you know, adapter release track for VOLTHA for the edge core adapter, for example.
I think we should, in light of wanting to get 1.1 discussions going, we should defer that until probably you know, planning for 1.2 and or 2.0. Okay. But yes, we should put a tracker in there, just a reminder to ourselves that, hey, we want to review the whole release strategy and
release and branching strategy. Okay, so I'll be sure. I'll put one in there. I'll put one in for that.
Okay. And
we can consider 1.1 branching.
Say again?
Are we wanting multiple PON support in 1.1 or just a single PON?
Product owner?
Yeah, I was going to say that may be a question for Sean as product owner.
I do want to have multiple port PON support. There's some opportunity to demo multiple OOTs, either in the BBWF or at the core build 2017 in November. BBWF will be the end of this week, at the end of the October. So you know, so it's not field trial deployment showstopper, but I do like to have multi-PON support in place. So let me when we say multi-PON support, is per OLT will be multi-PON, or it's just 1 PON per VOLTA?
What's multiple PON?
It's multiple PON ports on a single logical device, OLT device.
So OLT
Which is
device. So
multiple.
so
Yeah.
if I have
Which
two
looks-
different, if I have 2 different OLTs,
Yes,
each one can have up to 1 port. Right now, is that correct?
that's correct.
And if I have two different manufacturer of the OLT, each one has, okay. So if I have 2 edge core, right, then that will be 2 logical device, right?
That's correct.
Or 1. Okay. So in that case, if I have 2, so the question is whether that I think we should let me bring up my picture again. I think for the cord or BBWF, in that case, I don't need that. I don't need multi-PON, so 1.2 will be fine.
So multiple ports on a single OLT, that's not near term needed. 1 PON port's okay.
For field trial and demos, I think that it will be fine.
Sean,
okay.
Good. I think the decision is: are we going to hold 1.1.0 open for that, or can that be deferred to 1.1.1 or later?
It can be deferred to 1.1.1 or later.
Okay.
Thank you, Tim, for clarifying.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I think what we're going to do next is we had a request at the beginning for a slight reordering of topics due to some schedule issues for folks on the call. So what I'd like to do next is go to Vol 460 and then after that Vol 419. And if things start going too long for the discussion, we may have to schedule a separate meeting for this if we can't resolve it, because we do at some point need to get to the sprint planning as well. So right now, let me switch over to 460. And I believe there were some new comments that had come in on this one as well. Yes. Okay. So Steve, I think you'd request for this to be discussed while you were on the call. Do you have any initial comments you make, or anyone else like to kick off the discussion?
Yeah, I can. I opened it, so
yeah.
The reason I opened it came out of an update that was made to one of the ONU, the Broadcom ONU adapter, and the fact that the default flow rules that are currently pushed by VOLTHA in isolation of ONOS, they rely on this device.vlan field, which had been used, but with the introduction of, and it was limiting, but it relied on this device.vlan field. With the introduction of provisioning through XPON, that field is no longer populated, and the flow rules, the default flow rules, don't include a valid CVIT value anymore. Since ONOS has all the per subscriber data, it seemed obvious that we should have some mechanism to communicate that downstream to the OLT and ONU. And that was the purpose.
Go ahead, finish it.
Sorry, no, that's fine. It's very, Sarisha, it's really hard to hear you.
Is it better now?
Yes, much better.
Yes,
Thanks.
much better.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. I said just finish it up. I mean, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to give some background why this was open in the first place.
Okay. I just want to know.
Sorry, I think we need some way to deal with per subscriber CVIT or per uni CVIT values being communicated to the ONU, right?
Right. That's the, disconnect I'm having right now, because onus does push these down to VOLTHA. First of all, I think your first statement was in isolation of onus. So I don't know why we are doing that, to be honest. I thought that in order to get the flow rules, you had to have onus, and VOLTHA is not supposed to do any default flow rule business. So maybe that was there as a workaround or a temporary solution in the earlier days, but the idea is to move towards using onus for all flow management.
Right.
So if you
Yes,
can actually
agreed.
quickly give a little bit of overview on what default flow rules, what you mean by default flow rules and what sort of flow rules you're expecting, maybe it
Well,
would help.
Can I mention probably something that'll probably make it very clear?
Sure.
In the flow decomposer, when you receive a control flow such as say IGMP or EA poll, it requests the action to be to controller. The flow decomposer will take that rule and break it down to individual output ports. Right now it's currently one port, but we have, the 419 fixes it to do multiple ports. Well, when you break that rule down, you get basically a two controller rule, and at least for our device, since we use a Qumran where we do our switching point, we need to know the C tag that the ONU is placing. The ONU will take a priority tag packet and place, say, VLAN 128 on it as a C tag and send it up. We need to know that the C tag is 128 along with the filter rules for, EA poll, ether type, and such. So
right. I think what you're trying to, yeah.
Correct.
So
and the ONU,
the
ONU has to have the knowledge that it needs to put that specific tag there, right? Today it was relying on whatever was in the device.vlan field, and if that's not populated, then
I see.
That's correct.
I see. So I think what you're trying to say is that probably the ONUs that you're using is not able to send because if you look at the rules basically says untagged or priority tag. The ONU is really not able to send untagged or priority tagged up on the PON, which I can understand why some ONUs can't do that, and you're not able to send it up towards the controller. So I think if you really want to work around, and this is a per uni setting, I mean, it's going to be on a per uni, and if what you're trying to say is mainly because you need some sort of a CVID in the interim to get these packets strapped to the controller, I would suggest that the default flow rules in the onus have to be mapped to take a configuration value as to what this default VLAN should be. I don't know if you want 10 or whatever it is. And then the flow rules will automatically flow down correctly towards VOLTHA. I don't recommend using any sort of configuration inside of VOLTHA because VOLTHA is not authoritative of that. So ideally, today, when the default flow rules are sent down, they're all sent down as, send me all, untagged packets up. So if you really want it to be a VLAN tag packets, so you need to make sure there's some sort of a configuration in ONOS that will actually push down the rules asking, I would like VLAN tags of a particular VLAN for this subscriber.
Yeah, well, it is used by the default, that default control channel, the 4000 channel that, most people really don't like. But the other fact is it is also used by, you need that C tag for any flow, not necessarily a control flow that has a controller field, because the logical port numbers are on the ONU. And that basically, you should actually trap at the ONU, but really, no ONU will actually do the trapping and send the packet up. The actual packet in, packet out occurs at the OLT. Therefore, some or maybe all OLTs may need to know the C tag. Otherwise, if you just put a rule, for one, the flow decomposer doesn't send you the rule to the OLT saying, please trap EA poll packets on all ports. It just sends EA poll, and that's about
it.
I
understand
that. Controllers, so if somebody authenticates and gets a DHCP flow, if you don't have that C tag, then any ONU who sends DHCP, whether they're authenticated or not, will go up that tag. So you need the C tag at the OLT to get unique traffic. management.
I understand, but actually, if you look at the workflow, the way the AAA app or the apps are designed in code, in our code, is that after successful authentication, the AAA app goes and pulls the VLAN information from SADIS and then puts down the subscriber VLANs. So your initial trap VLAN could be completely different, which could be one VLAN for all the ONUs, right? Because it's going to write on different gem ports. So it could be one VLAN for all the ONUs that everybody is trapping on, and once your authentication is successful, then you could use the actual VLAN. And this workflow is already in ONUS, because today the AAA app, after successful authentication, will go to SADIS, pull the subscriber VLANs, and provision up or send the flow rules towards VOLTHA. So those flow rules will be used for subscriber traffic, like for example DHCP traffic or IGMP signaling.
But the flow decomposer completely rewrites those rules. It has nothing to do with SADIS. The flow decomposer completely rewrites it to what the OLT gets. Yes, look at the code. I just spent a week working on it.
We have it working in the labs, trust me as well. So we don't need to use the .VLAN field in the device because the flow rules have to come from ONUS. So
some device
I understand that
need it. Some hardware
that's what I'm saying. It's a very adapter specific implementation that has been pulled into the core, and that's what I'm trying to say, that we should, if this JIRA ticket is written, it should be fixed in a way that it works for all the adapters and not one particular adapter.
Agreed, and having a single device.VLAN field for the ONU doesn't work, right? You need it needs to be per subscriber. I completely agree.
Right, and Steve, what I'm trying to say is that's already in ONUS. Like if you look at SADIS, it's providing the subscriber VLANs. I think what you need is a trap VLAN, from what I'm understanding. You need the default rules, which is basically today the ONUs are not able to send anything up on VLAN 0, or we need a VLAN. I understand that, and that's the trap VLAN that you need. That could be a common VLAN for all the ONUs, but following subscriber authentication, successful subscriber authentication, the AAA app goes to SADIS, pulls the unicast subscriber rules and sends it down to the OLT. Those get decomposed down to the adapters. And I understand that some adapters are written in such a way that they expect that device.VLAN field to be filled in, or they rely on that. And that's what we need to discuss on how to, I mean, I guess that's what you're trying to say as well, that this VOLT 460 is intended to do, right? You want a mechanism to...
Well, AAA also requires a C tag in SADIS to match, so you have to get that C tag somehow.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. You need a trap VLAN. I'm not arguing that you need a trap VLAN. And today, the rules are just sent down saying that give me a packet, give me the AAA packet, or give me EPOL packet towards the controller. So you can always look at it as making change to ONUS to send a trap VLAN along with it. If you really need a VLAN, so you send a VLAN, have it configured such that it can also take a trap VLAN that you could send down to the ONU, and you could use that for your default fields. It will still be like your regular flow decomposition mechanism, and you're not doing anything special inside of VOLTHA.
Well, you're proposing to have some reserve VLAN that can't be used as a, in SADIS, right? So it would be eliminated from the 1 to 495 range, and then it would,
yeah, why not?
And then the OLT would forward based on MAC. Is that?
Yeah, you could either do that, or you could say that use the subscriber VLAN. So it's just a workflow, right? You could either have a trap VLAN, or you could tell the apps to use the subscriber VLAN. So instead of pulling that VLAN before, after successful authentication, they could go and pull that in before authentication, and then send the default flow rules towards VOLTHA. The reason it's not done that way is because that's how they stop data traffic before authentication. They want to make sure that there's no data traffic before authentication. This is the R code flow. And the reason the way they do that is they don't send the subscriber flow rules until the port is authenticated. So by overriding that and sending the CVID to the ONU, you're actually opening it up for all traffic, right? So you need to have some sort of a default VLAN anyway. You could either use a trap VLAN, which is a reserve VLAN like you're saying, Sean, or You could use a subscriber VLAN if you're okay with, you know, if you're okay with allowing traffic before authentication. You could have that option configurable. Sorry,
no, that's fine. I think maybe what I'm having trouble with is the flow decomposer for any controller-bound flow. It just assumes that the default flow rule is sufficient. So you're saying that after authentication, the per subscriber, so the DHCP rule, for example, that's marked as a controller-bound flow, right? So the flow decomposer won't send any additional flow data to the ONU. I'm okay with the initial default authentication CVID. That's fine. I guess what's not clear to me is how does this per subscriber VLAN get to the ONU if it's marked as a controller-bound flow?
So it's not the per subscriber VLAN is not a controller trap to controller flow. It's a end-to-end flow. Like once successful authentication is done, if you actually looked at it, the way it works is it calls the OLT app, and the OLT app installs the using the S and the CVIT, which is in the status today. It used to be in OLT app. Now it's actually, you can do it via the OLT app as well. You could use the port number and configure it through REST APIs of the OLT app, or you could use status, which is a new mechanism. So it would pull, the AAA app will call the same API that was used before. It will pull the S and the CVIT from status and install the end-to-end flow rules. They're not controller rules. They're not trap to controller rules. They're end-to-end flow rules. And then the traffic will flow. I mean, if you need an example, I can send you the flow rules, but I'm just trying to understand the problem here, because if the very idea behind adding flow rules autonomously within VOLTHA is not correct, because VOLTHA is hardware abstraction, and we have a separate entity called ONUS to manage, which is the SDN controller to manage the flows, and that's why I'm trying to make the workflow. I understand your problem, so I'm trying to see if there's a solution to make it work using the architecture, you know, still making use of ONUS as the flow controller, and VOLTHA is just a hardware abstraction layer.
So, Srisha, for my benefit, the flow rule, if you can send it out, that'll be great. We can tag it. We can tag it on this ticket. So let me be a little bit short-sighted. Is this ticket blocking anything right now, or what's the impact without? Okay, of course we don't. I don't think we come to a clear agreement regarding to.
So I think, Sean, the better way to ask this question is, or I'm trying to learn as well. I don't know the entire picture because a lot of these things are buried inside the adapters too, and looks like there are different implementations in different adapters. Like, for example, some adapters are exposing PON ports as, you know, the OpenFlow ports for the logical switch, versus some are advertising Ethernet ports, or the Ethernet VNet port.
All unique ports on ONUs are using the channel ID or a small formula based on the channel ID to make the logical port number for OpenFlow.
Okay, so I mean, if there is a flow decomposer problem, I still don't understand how all adapters are able to solve the VLAN problem that Steve just brought in. So it seems like there's some things different in each adapter. That's because the code is not doing the same. I mean, it's not authoritatively doing the same thing towards all. I mean, there's no generic interface towards all the, or I shouldn't say generic interface, but generic way of using the interface across all the adapters. That's what it seems to me like, but maybe I'm mistaken.
So is it possible to find a common solution?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Yeah, yes. But I think Julie wants to also finish up her other stuff today, so I don't know if you'll be able to do that.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be solved today.
Is this blocking any adapter to work right now?
That was the next question that, or issue that had been requested to be looked at, because it's shown as a blocker. There's some discussion on whether that's the case for this. So this was the next ticket we were going to look at, actually.
I mean, instead of looking at
no,
this,
it's not blocking. Well, I'll speak for us. It's not gating anything at the moment. I don't know. I know, Chip's solution 419. I think you're right. It's referencing the device.vlan field.
Chip, is this one blocking?
Yeah, it's actually it's referencing the output port number, which is the OpenFlow port number on the output port. Currently, what you have is if you don't mind me regressing a little bit, there's 3 numbers that we're concerned about. One is the OpenFlow port number, which is what ONUS really needs in the long run for its flow rules. That is currently being set from the channel ID by every ONU. All open source ONUs are using the channel ID within the proxy address to set that value. The Broadcom uses the channel ID plus a parent port number to set that field. And that's basically, so that's under the control of the ONU. And all the open source OLT adapters that use the VLAN field using VLAN equals channel ID, which ends up being the OpenFlow port number. So in a sense, yes, I am using the VLAN ID, but in the code it's actually using the output port number.
Right.
There's an issue that you're going to hit with XPON is now the channel ID is being calculated based off a lookup of the channel pair's name, indexing the PON port's label, and using that index, basically the PON port number, as the channel ID. So now if depending on how you wrote your ONU or your OLT, you might only be able to run one ONU on a PON. So there's ways around that to be able to do it on multi-PONs, but it's something that everybody needs to do the same. So it probably should actually go into like a base class. So I hope
and Chip, I really would like to see how we would solve the multi-VLAN without using the VLAN device.VLAN field. And I understand that it's not an easy problem. Multi-port. I'm sorry. I understand that it's not an easy problem, and that's what you're looking at. But and thanks for that. But I think we should avoid using the device.VLAN field because that's not a solution, and it's not going to work for all the adapters.
Yes, so somehow in our adapters, when we do a packet in, we have to trap that packet, and we need to know what the logical port number is for the OpenFlow port for the packet in. And
I think that's what Steve is asking to fix first before you put in that change, because that mandates all if all adapters want to use multiple port, that mandates using the device.VLAN field, which is not configurable, I understand, which should be actually deprecated. But that's why Steve is asking, how can we look for a mechanism to configure this, either the right way or
correct,
however it needs to be.
Yeah, I need to drop, folks. Julie, are you recording this by chance?
I am recording it, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So maybe I think we do need Steve because he wrote the JIRA ticket. So we could set up a call later this week, or I don't think we're going to settle this today, right? So how about setting up a dedicated call for this? Because I want to discuss why we are using the VLAN field to identify the logical port, because we should be using init configuration and
yeah, and I do like your proposal, Niren, I think, sent out to use the VENet. So maybe that can help in some way. I just haven't had enough time to think about that.
So it looks like these are all interlinked together. So I think it would be good for a dedicated call, so we can synergize on this.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, I have to drop, folks.
So Sienna,
thank you.
Okay.
Sorry?
Sienna, this is not blocking you guys, right?
Not currently.
Okay.
But I'd like to have a better solution going forward.
Sure. And then the ATRAN is
think, Sean, sorry.
No,
I think
just
when
want
we
to...
try to put different adapters together, then it may become blocking. But right now, looks like it's not blocking, right?
I hope so. I hope so. ATRAN, is that blocking you guys at all?
What, not getting port 19 to work? Yes. Unless you want just one ONU.
Okay.
And the solution for that, again, this is also why we discussed several times over the VOLTHA Discuss forum and also the calls that we should be using Ethernet as a logical port in the device, and that should be in the graph, because then you can decompose it to the right ports as needed. But still we have the problem that you won't be able to do two on the same device, like for example 2 on the same ONU, but it'll at least solve the 2 on the PON. So we can do multiple ONUs, you can do multiple PONs, multiple ONUs, but it's just that two ENETs on the same ONU would need what you're looking at, Chip. Yeah. So that's why I think these are all interlinked, and we have to.
For us, the problem
basically
comes down to is that we do our packet capture at the Qumran device, which is on the OLT. You can do anything you want to with a VENet that you can think of, but as long as it doesn't put something unique in a packet that we can reliably capture, to be able to pull that out and say, yes, I got this packet from logic port number 7, we cannot create first we cannot capture the packet, and then let alone we can't do a packet in functionality.
Right, and everybody is using, I'm sure, similar devices that need to identify on the PON a particular uni on the PON, and there are mechanisms for that. You probably already know, which is going to allow for that, right? And that's why you need to exactly know which particular ENET it is when you're sending stuff down to the OLT. It's a matter of having the granularity, and if you just give PON, it's not granular enough unless you're using CVID or something else.
Okay, so I'll look to see what we have on the calendar for available times, and I'll send out a couple options for possible times we can host a meeting to discuss this, and I'll send that out on the VOLTHA Discuss. And then hopefully we can narrow in on a time slot when most folks are available. So I'll trigger that over the VOLTHA Discuss board, and we'll get something scheduled. Okay, so I think what we'll do is now leave that for now and go back to, so Tim, I saw in your meeting notes from yesterday that on the adapter call that there would need to be discussion today about the VOLTHA 1.1 branch and v1.1.0 tag decision. So I think we've got, with the blocking issues closed, I think that puts us in good shape. Is there anything else? What do we need to discuss specifically related to this today?
Julie, when is again, sorry,
yes.
When is the VOLTHA 1.1 release planned now for?
That's the discussion right now, Teresa.
That's it, yeah. So it was supposed to be a few days ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we ready to cut?
I thought you were talking about cut the branch. I guess, okay.
Tag release. Are there any other critical issues that should be included in that have not yet been checked in? I think that's the first question. I think from the intent was.
I think there are some outstanding commits. There are some outstanding commits to look at, right? I mean, probably need to check all the outstanding commits to see if they need to go in or not. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I have a list of it was 465 and 470 are the 2 pending ones, I think, with the exceptions of the ones we just talked about. So
419 and 460 aren't going to be resolved.
Right.
Yeah, I need 470 as well. So.
Yeah, 470 and 465 are the two that need to be considered, and it looks like there's just been no review action on those.
Okay, so let's open.
470.
Okay, so this is one of the new ones. I've just opened it up. Hopefully it's visible on the screen now.
Yeah, there's
we got a review comment on this to add ITIS, and that's what we're doing in the meantime. So we should try to do it as soon as possible. Hopefully by the end of this week. Today, if possible, but otherwise not.
Yeah, also I would put in a comment, you in the check-in, you commented out the assert for multiple PON ports.
Yeah, we'll take care of that. We will not do that for PON ports. We'll want your solution.
Otherwise you break IGN.
Right. We will keep it for PON. We'll let you solve that because we don't use that. It's only the VNet case we'll take care of. Yeah, that will be accepted as well.
What's the action?
What was that?
What's the action?
The action is for us, Nokia, to add a updated patch set addressing Chip's comments.
Right. And when will that be done?
We hope to do it today, at the latest by tomorrow.
Really, on that is pacing the 1.1 release. The 1.1.0 tag. Are you comfortable with that?
I could not follow very
I'm
well.
having I can't. Yeah.
Very hard to follow you.
Someone has a background. Is that Tim? Are you?
Is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, much better. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. So the question is this 470 and the patch set 2 required may not happen till tomorrow, and that would be pacing the v1.1.0 tag. Is that acceptable? That be delayed to at least till tomorrow?
I can try to get it in today. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I think, tomorrow's Friday, right? So it's only, I think, 1 day difference. Redis is Redis doesn't need this, right? Does it? For finish the POC?
No, this is in interest of getting the 1.1 branch cut and the 1.1.0 release. So just this, if this is blocking that release, I just want to make sure everyone aware that that's a pacing issue.
Okay.
If we accept that, that's fine. That just means, then that 1.1.0 tag won't happen until this is checked in and merged.
I thought in the beginning I heard Kim saying he mentioned 470 and something else. Was it Kim or someone? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was 470 and 465 were the two.
So go ahead.
I was going to say 465 looks like it's doesn't have any comments, and it's a pretty small change.
So Sarisha, can you guys is that a small change on 470?
Well, it has chips issue that needs to be resolved for 470.
Yes, 470 we have 2 chips issues. One of them is a straightforward change. We already made the change and checked it. The other one is the ITIS. That's what we are trying to do. I mean, if you're willing to have a different ticket for ITES and just have us deliver the check for, not do the assert check for PON, but only continue it with the VNet, that should be pretty straightforward.
Okay, so can we get this one done by the end of today?
Yeah, I'll try.
Okay. And it's the Eastern time zone, right? So on your side, so potentially, I think we can still cut it today.
Okay, yeah.
It's only
Okay.
it's only 8:42. It's only 8:42 California time. So I want to take advantage of that.
So yeah, I'll try my best. I'll
Right.
send an email when it is pushed,
Okay.
and somebody needs to give a +2, right? I'm not the module owner for this, so I don't know who the module owner for this is. It is in the Flow Decomposer area. So is it Steve or?
Chip will be able to review and then give it a +2.
Yeah, I guess I can. I'm traveling tomorrow, but I'm on the West Coast right now, so I'll be up.
Yeah, I know you. I know you are. So I want to take that advantage of you.
Yeah, Zolt's the other. I guess Zolt was the module owner.
Who is the module owner for this? I thought we had new
Zolt.
module owners.
Only 2 people touched. I think one other person's touched. Niran might have.
Yeah, but he's the one making the change, so it
won't be good. Before me, someone put a nice fix in for. I think it was I can +2 it if everyone's happy with that.
Yeah, I thought we had a list of new module owners. So for Flow Decomposer, I'm not sure. For the VOLTHA core, I'm not sure who it is. Yeah.
I think it's Sergio and Ken is, I think, on this one for the module owner. Be good to get their +2.
Do we actually have seen Dave Benbridge?
Yeah, once we have if we have a +2, we can get it merged. Because the person who does a +2 is going to take the hit if it didn't merge and work. So,
Okay.
person that just hits submit, not a problem.
Okay, I'll take care of getting the fix in. That's that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Then 465 was the other one that's needed for 1.1.0. Is that correct?
Well,
and it's just those 2?
It's staged right now for.
Okay.
It's on master, and it would be included in there. We have to decide: does this one go into 1.1? Because 1.1 is going to cut from the tip of the master right now. So, and this is pending. So the question is, does this have to go for 1.1? Right, so I think Nokia would have to say whether, because it was submitted by, what was it, Nicole, so we'd have to find out, is this one expected to be in this release, or can it be after?
Well, this is a long-standing problem. It's been there from the day one of VOLTHA. So if you create the same device again, it will just create a duplicate device and it won't work. So the workaround is to not do that, right? Make sure that you don't. So it's, I wouldn't say it's a blocker. I mean, it's a nice to have thing. It's really not a blocker. But this is already, if somebody can give a +2 on it, it will go in because this is already reviewed and it has a +1 on it already. We have not given a +2 because we are not the module owners for this. Yeah, it's a trivial, very, very trivial change. We didn't give a +2 because we are not module owners. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can do the +2.
There's already a +1 on this, and if somebody else wants to take a review, do a review and give a +1, we can get the module owners to give a +2 on it. I mean,
Chip,
I could do a +2, but I just wanted to.
Chip, can you do that?
Well, Sean, it's the point is there's a lot of people that can +2, but the module owner technically should do it, and the core owner should be. It's either Sergio and Ken are the designated guys
Right.
to do that. Now they could tell somebody else to do it, but it would be good if the +2 would come from there. So
Exactly. Yeah.
David, can you ask them? Can you get a hold of them and ask them to review this and then give it commit?
I will ask them.
And who should we assign it to at this point? It's currently unassigned.
Assign it to Nikolai. He's already fixed it
Okay.
and he's sent. Yeah.
And there's a Garrett on this, but it's just not linked to this.
Oh, it's not linked?
Okay,
That's
I was
weird.
looking for that as well. Yeah, I don't see anything in here.
Can we just make sure like Sergio is on the review list or Ken is on the review list for the and Garrett?
I will check. I'll check, but I thought it was already.
they are.
That's weird.
They are.
Okay.
Yeah, let me check. Yeah.
All right, on the Garrett problem here, this is temporary. It seems like this time of day, you maybe Jira sweeps through and takes those out and repopulates them. So those will come back later in the day. It seems to be typical about that happens. But it was in there, I think, like an hour ago.
I'm looking at Garrett, and I don't see it in the opens either. So
it's number. It's review 5994.
Yeah, that's right.
5994, and the module owners are on there, including Zolt. And so module owners just need to
Sergio or Ken are there. Right.
Okay.
It's a very trivial fix. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I can do a +2 on it, but I'm not the module owner, Sean. So the point is, it would be nice if the module owners gave a +2.
Yeah. So Julie, can you say, ask Ed Sergio, have him to take a look at this?
Let's see.
David, where have Sergio been?
He had some things working on this morning, so he's around.
Okay.
It's not coming.
SS type 2 SS.
SS. Okay. There. Thank you.
SSL.
Anything else you want to ask him? Am I doing this right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we need to include that the 4-digit number? Kim,
the Garrett
number.
Yeah, you really want to. Well, unless the Garrett is in the comments of the Jira, if the commit was done with vol 465 in it, it should be linked. Yep. But if it's not,
it should be linked, and it's not showing up right now. Yeah.
It's gonna.
Oh, I know why. I think it is. It's not. It doesn't have a hyphen. That's why.
Yeah, you need it's particular. It's like you have to have capitals and a hyphen.
Yeah, that's why I think it's not linked. I'm wondering if
just change the commit message on and do that. Yeah, we're gonna run into the problem if we change the commit message, then we'll lose the verified +1.
Yeah, don't do that.
But we could do it anyway. So whoever +2s it needs to +1 verify.
We also need to get the rules relaxed of how we match VOLTHA commits to Jira.
Yeah, it seems like that's a common thing.
So do you want us to fix the comment message, or is it okay for this time?
Fix the commit message, and then I'll do verified +1 on it and put that back on there. And then if Jenkins doesn't do it by itself, but then we'll still look for the +2 from module owner, and I'll ping directly to Sergio as well. That might help.
Okay. So Kim, I had one question for you. We don't have to take care of cherry picking these to the 1.1 because you're going to cut the master only after these fixes go in. Is that correct?
Right. 1.1 will branch from the tip of master. So whatever is in there, that will be our 1.1. So anything we're talking about here just goes to master and just like normal, right? And there, I'll put out an announcement on Volt to discuss when the release has been cut, and then there'll be a thing that'll mark it as I'll have a commit on there that will just simply bump the version, the top level version number in VOLTA in the setup.py. So we'll see that come through. And then David, we also have to make sure that the ONOS apps,
yes,
for Docker, and we'll just have to that only affects working off of the branch. It doesn't affect what's going on with master.
Yeah. Just need to make sure the that dependency file that we talked about yesterday is updated.
Yes. Yep. Okay. No action needed on your part, Teresa.
Okay. Thank you.
Julie, change that one to the fixed version to 1.1.0.
Thank you. And did we have that on?
I updated the other one.
Yeah, you did already. Okay. That one, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So once those two fixes or patches are in and merged, then we're planning to cut the release, correct? Those are the last two issues?
Yes, today.
Hopefully today. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Very good.
I think, oh, you know what? There is one more we probably should review.
I totally like.
Right. No, this is documentation only, but Vol 455, the instructions for from EdgeCore.
Oh, this one doesn't hit in the VOLTA.
No, it
repo.
doesn't. I know it doesn't hit the repo. It's outside of it, but I see comments as late as today, so I just wanted to bring that up. Scroll
down on that one. What was asked for was given by Jason, the patches up there, and Jason was asking if it cleared the problem. It should.
All right.
Right, but then there's more things here, questions here, and I will help address those with Jason. So, but 455 there's not any.
There's no code. Yes.
Code or JIRA or anything. This is just discussion in here until we figure out where all this stuff is supposed to live or come from.
Okay. All right.
All right, so those are the only two that we're waiting for. So I'll watch on those, kind of monitor that today, and give a report tomorrow if the release gets cut.
Okay, sounds good. Then I think the next thing on our agenda is to go over the new issues that have come in that have not been discussed on a call yet with the group. So I think at this point, let's see, why don't we start from the top and work down?
And then today we are tentative to have a 90 minutes call, right?
Yes, if folks can stay on, we're planning to attend for 30 extra minutes, and we'll see how we do. So we are at 5 till the top of the hour right now. So, okay. So let's take a look at the new tickets and see if we can get those, at least an initial scrub of what to do with them. Okay, so Vol 473, IGMP proxy app, non-OLT connect point flows not getting provisioned. And this one is shown as a high priority. Oh, and there's already something in Garrett for it. Okay.
That's what's not showing up. Yeah, so there's ONOS apps that won't show up just looking at the VOLTA branch. So yeah, this is important. We have to find what which ONOS apps are getting updated for this release as well, and that's probably going to show here. Click on that Garrett link and see if that's actually been merged. It looks new, isn't it? Just got put in.
Yeah.
It looks new, but there is change already. I don't know what the commit. I'd have to look at the code to see what the bug fix is.
Click on there's only 19 lines. Click on that file down in files in that Java file to see how big it is. There's some work in there.
So what does this problem really, David, do you know?
No, I mean, I no, I don't.
Okay, I think then this is, this is a brand new one, so I think we may not know how to properly put this, target it for a release or anything at this point. So it is
high,
there.
which,
we can
which
take a look
high,
at it.
I may need,
yes.
I may need Hanky to look at it, and I don't know if he's available. Yeah, I'll ask him to take a look at it. Is he added as a reviewer?
He is by default, I think.
Okay.
I thought I saw his name there as well.
Who?
Hank Kahan.
Okay,
Yes,
Kahan.
under reviewers, yeah. Okay.
Is Kay from which company they're from?
Nakia.
Nakia, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Then we have 4.7. Oh, was there another comment or question?
So this is a high priority. There's a fix checked in for review, but we're not going to attach it to a release at this point.
We have to dig into it, I think, a little bit more, at least.
Okay. Is it possible that this needs to be in the 1.1.0?
It is possible. I think two things are going to happen. I'm going to dig in with the developer, Deepa, and see what's going on there, what that is about.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't talked to her about this yet, and Han's going to look at it, and he may have some issues with it from his side. And so there's both. We need to decide what the bug is and what the problem is, and agree on that it is a problem, and then agree on a fix. So there's a little bit of work here.
All right.
And you were having a question about whether this is required before we cut to the cut 1.1, right? Was that your question? I think I heard Tim say something.
Yes. Well, that is the question. As it is a high priority, how quickly can we have that review, and will it? Again, who will determine whether or not this is blocking the 1.1.0?
What is the non-OLT connect point? Is that some non-OLT device? What's the non-OLT device, such as OVS switch?
So in some of these applications, you're allowed to essentially have an upstream connect point, and that upstream connect point can be in some deployments an OVS switch. And so what flows, I guess, we're expecting to be pushed to the OVS switch in this case for that she's in the issue she's raised, and why aren't they? So there's two issues there. I think I have to decide is what's missing from her perspective, because again, we saw IGMP proxy working with an OVS switch, so I'm curious what flows she's expecting. The
OVS switch.
Go ahead.
The OVS switch. Okay, I'm only thinking about hardware. Is that is it top of rack?
So right. So being very explicit, right? We to get to our top of rack switch, to allow owners to pack it out through the top of rack switch. If the top of rack switch isn't an open flow switch, you need a device to which owners can be the master essentially and pack it out through. And if your top of rack switch is not open flow, that can be an OVS switch.
Okay.
Okay, so do we think we'll be able to get an answer in time for today if the target is to do release 1.1 today?
I don't know.
How quickly do you think we can determine this?
She's on Indian Standard Time, so she's a little bit away in time zone terms.
Yeah.
But she has a counterpart here in the California time zone that I'm trying to get a hold of and dig into that a little bit more. So it's hard to say at this point. Again, when Kihan, depending on when he can look at the review too. Because Suresh, you said he's out today or something, or?
Well, yeah, he's out. I have to check if he'll be able to take a look or not.
Yeah. So there's a couple issues there that may not allow it to be done today, I guess is the best way to put it.
I think let's still target the 1.1 release tonight.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to get it reviewed by tonight, Sean. I don't want to set your expectations high. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, since there's some
By the way,
there.
Kim, I'm sorry to distract. Kim, for 465, we have made the change for the commit message. If you want to go ahead and take a look at it and give +1.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, I saw that, and I just pinged Sergio on Slack to have a look at it for the +2.